Alright, so in this video, I'm pretty much going to break down how you could split up one offer into 4 different tiers. And we're just going to cover all of the different tiers here. One being pretty much course only, which basically just means stuff like video modules, static resources. Two being group coaching, tier three being one-on-one coaching, and then tier four being full done for you. And then just to give some context on this, like if this is a e-com dropshipping product, pretty much here you would have just simply like video modules and information in here on how to actually do dropshipping stuff. So I'm not too familiar with it myself, but for example, setting up the entire store, like all the buttons to click, pretty much everything that you needed to know within Shopify, all that good stuff. Group coaching, obviously, you would have a call component to that and a bunch of different like minded people hopping on calls, and then there being some kind of a coach that is kind of guiding everyone through the process there and giving them all the information for what they're doing. One-on-one coaching, very obvious, pretty much just in the name. Pretty much you, if you're in the program, have a coach that is dedicated to you, and most of the time they work with other individuals as well, but they sit down with you and they pretty much teach you through everything. So pretty much same thing as group coaching, but they're a lot more involved. And then full done for you would be, for example, like they would have someone in their company pretty much sit down, build out your entire store, pick a niche for you, pick a product for you, and then pretty much run the entire operation, all the ads for it, like whatever it may be on the e-com side. So that was just some context there. But yeah, now just to get to the start of the board, pretty much you always start out with the core offer. So you have one offer, multiple access levels. It is pretty much the same promise and curriculum, but at different levels of depth and access and done for you. So this kind of a split here into the 4 tiers is very simple to sell, simple to fulfill, and also easy to upgrade and push people up the value ladder. And a key rule you have to be kind of following here when you're implementing all these tiers is whenever someone gets a tier. So for example, if they purchase one-on-one coaching, they obviously still get access to all the tiers below it. So they get access to the course, they get access to the group coaching calls if they want to hop on them. A lot of the times they won't, obviously, because they have a one-on-one coach. But yeah, that's pretty much the idea there. So if someone purchases group coaching, then they get the course also, but they get access to both tiers. So that's the idea. You want a clear ladder, clear upgrades, and then no like confusion between the tiers and the value between the tiers, which we'll get into some of the stuff about the value, and the pricing when it comes to the tiers, because that's also very important to kind of think through when formulating all of this stuff, because you don't want tiers that like don't make sense essentially. But yeah, pretty much tier one would be course only, or just simply like static materials and videos. Yeah, that would be tier one, and the deliverables here would just be pretty much the full curriculum, templates, quick start checklist, all that good stuff. And then access, it would just be gated behind some kind of a portal. And then there could also be a community component to this, or none. A lot of the kind of courses that are doing well now usually have a community component to them as well. So that's just something to think about there. But it is best for self-starters and people just like on a budget who kind of want more information, want to get into it. And the operations load is pretty easy, because once you get the entire course kind of set up, obviously people purchase it, go through all the materials, and that's pretty much all they get. The only thing beyond that would just be like updating different content and just the community component to it. So like moderating the community, make sure everyone's active in there, just making sure it's not dead. So that's the operations load. In terms of tier one, and as you move up to tier two, you have the group coaching component, and this one includes the course. So like I was mentioning before, the rule, pretty much everything like below is included. And the deliverables here would just be weekly group calls, office hours, having an active community component to this as well. And the outcome of group coaching would be implementation and accountability. So the people within this are getting accountability and help on the implementation side of things. And the operations load on this is pretty much a fixed call schedule. So you're going to need a coach that hops on at the specific times that these are being run at. These calls are going to need to be recorded, and then light support tickets as well, for all the people that have questions about like all the material covered and like want clarification and stuff like that. And then as you move up to one-on-one coaching, the deliverables pretty much are the personal plan, private chat, 2 to 4 private calls per month. This kind of varies. Sometimes I've seen more, sometimes I've seen less, but this is pretty standard. And then the outcome of this is pretty much speed, personalization, higher success rate. But the operations load is a little bit higher than group coaching, but you do get a dedicated coach, capacity planning, and quality assurance reviews as well. So yeah, and then full done for you. In some cases, this is technically not possible, but for the most part, most niches, most industries, it is actually possible. But pretty much the idea here is that the entire system is set up end to end to hit a defined result, and then transition control. So basically, you want to use sparingly only for a select few clients, because this is going to be a lot more expensive than the other tiers, and the operations load on this one is going to be a lot higher as well, because you're going to have a project manager, people kind of like building this stuff out. Yeah, just a bunch of different managers that are communicating with one another. There's going to be a strict scope for the entire thing. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Full done for you is not usually, it is the most expensive tier, because you are doing all the work for them essentially. Obviously they're still involved in stuff like that, but you're pretty much taking over the entire operation, kind of injecting your team into the entire situation, and they take it over. So that is pretty much how you could take one core offer. So whatever it may be that you're offering, like I was kind of giving the e-com and dropshipping example in the past, and I kind of explained how this would fit into all the tiers here. You could have one main core offer and then split it up into all these 4 tiers, and now you have a clear like ascension value ladder, where essentially within the realm of coaching you are able to give them all 4 of these, and then depending on the person, they're able to be kind of like put in the correct tier here. And there is like pricing differences, which we're pretty much going to get into here. For a course, it is usually going to be just a one-time fee, especially if they're getting like static materials and it is not really like updated too often and stuff like that, because obviously it doesn't make sense for them to keep paying like a set amount monthly for a course that has static materials and is never updated. What I've seen some other people do is pretty much, for example, once a week or once a month, there's like new video modules added, and there's just constantly more and more and more material being added over time. And this also kind of stacks the value of the course, because as the weeks and months go on and different kind of modules are being put in, different discussions, different PDFs, for example, like whatever it may be, the value of the course also goes up. So you could technically also kind of like raise the price of this over time. But yeah, that's pretty much it on that end there. And then group coaching is just a set amount per month. So for example, having access to a Discord, they're paying, let's say $500 per month to get access to the group coaches in there, and they just stick in there. Or you could just do it a set amount of money for a certain amount of weeks. And then for one-on-one coaching, it's usually just a high ticket price, so a couple $1,000s, just depending like what niche you're in, how valuable it is, the target demo, all that stuff. And then they are in usually for a set amount of time as well. And if they want to re-extend with their one-on-one coach after their time period is expired, the standard there is pretty much having the price and then giving them the same amount of time they initially had with their one-on-one coach. So that's usually the play there. And it's kind of interesting, because when you give them that upsell on the back end, you don't have to, there's no more percentages being like distributed between your setters and closers anymore, because they're already kind of in the group, or they're already like in the organization. They already have a one-on-one coach, and they're being upsold the same time frame that they initially booked for half the price. But you're not giving a percentage to a closer, you're not giving percentage to a setter. And yeah, the cost for acquisition there is pretty much the CPA cost per acquisition there is pretty much nothing. So yeah. And then full done for you, it's obviously just a custom quote. Usually this is like, I see some people retain a percentage. So for example, if someone builds you an entire e-com store, they would just retain a small percentage of that store, and they're helping you do it. And there's a big upfront fee here. So I've seen like 20,000 plus 30,000, 40,000. These could get very expensive very quickly, just kind of depending where you're at. But yeah, it's usually a custom quote and something you have to decide. And like I was mentioning earlier, in terms of the value of each tier and how you price that, this is just kind of a rule of thumb to follow to make this make sense. But pretty much each step up the ladder here between the tiers should feel like the value of the tiers is like much better than the price jumps that are kind of occurring between the tiers. So between each tier, you want it to be like a 1.5 to 2x price jump, but the value should feel a lot higher than that. And in terms of quantifying the value here, like 3 times, it's pretty hard to do it. So you just have to put a lot of thought into it, really think about it deeply, make sure the ascension ladder kind of makes sense here. But yeah, that's a general kind of rule of thumb you want to follow. So the value jump should be higher than the price jump between the tiers. And then this is kind of messing me up here. I don't know why. There we go. That fits a little bit better now. But yeah, in terms of the upgrade triggers as well. So when you know when you should kind of push someone up the ladder and kind of suggest it to them, there's a bunch of different things. I just kind of listed out, I think 5 here. But yeah, pretty much you want to offer it to the people in the organization pretty much whenever speed is desired and some kind of a deadline is approaching, and you think the tier above could actually get them the result much faster. Then you could offer it to them there. And if they are, for example, stuck for 2 weeks on the kind of like same kind of a thing, and the tier above would also help them out, then you could also offer it to them there. They could get in that tier and they would get the result a lot quicker and not be stuck anymore. And then the DIY quality gap is risking results. So pretty much when the actual customer is doing it themselves, and like whatever they're doing in their specific niche, I don't know if it's like fitness, if they're like doing the workout program like completely wrong or something like that, you could offer them a one-on-one coach to actually like help them out their form and not like injure themselves or something like that. So yeah, this is another one. Or if they got some kind of a new budget approved or some kind of a recent win within the group. So if they close some kind of a client, now they have more money, you could obviously like ask them to, or you could suggest to them to kind of move up a tier and get better or more personalized help to get better results, obviously, because if they already got a win and they're in your group coaching, for example, and they got the win because of the knowledge they learned from the group coaching, they are usually never going to have an objection to kind of join the one-on-one coaching and actually get more help, and gain more knowledge. So yeah. And then high engagement signal. So they attend all calls and submit work on time. So they're very engaged in the community. They're showing up to all the calls and they seem to be putting in a lot of effort. Stuff like this, you also want to kind of push them up the value ladder as well. And then in terms of success metrics, and this is also kind of, it's not symmetrical. I'm kind of a perfectionist here. So yeah, there you go. Success metrics. So you want to track this by tier and cohort. So pretty much from activation, there we go. It's a lot more symmetrical now. Activation, portal login, 24 hours, checklist completion in 7 days. So you want to see their activation process and be monitoring that. You want to see their engagement rate, like I was mentioning before. So the amount of times they're attending all the calls, how much times they're kind of engaging with the community and posting in there. See their progress, seeing if their milestones are being hit on time, time to first result. That's another important one as well, because if someone is not getting results for a while, they're obviously going to get discouraged. So this is also something to watch as well. And then you're going to have the upgrades portion of it as well. So the rate and time between tiers, this is something you also want to monitor. Satisfaction, so quick, I'm not even going to say that acronym, I'm going to sound stupid, but after weeks 2 and 6, so pretty much there's going to be a customer satisfaction survey, and you want to ask them pretty much a variety of different questions and have it like ranked on a number scale to see how they like the community, what they think could be better about it, all that good stuff. And weeks 2 and 6, that's pretty like ambiguous. You could kind of do it whenever you want, but the general idea is you want one later in the program and you want one earlier in the program, just to get both sides of the coin there. And this will kind of see what people are thinking about it. You want to review these weekly, act on stuck accounts within 48 hours. These are pretty much the primary success metrics that you want to be tracking for people actually within these tiers and the entire organization. There is a variety of other different ones, but these are just some main ones to keep your eyes on. And these are pretty much, generally speaking, like the only ones that you'll ever need, because the other ones are pretty hard to track and stuff like that. So hopefully this video helped you understand how you could split up one core offer into 4 different tiers, the differences between the 4 different tiers, kind of how to structure this in a way that makes sense in terms of the value jump between the tiers and the price jump between the tiers, and then the different kinds of upgrade triggers for when to kind of push someone up the value ladder here, and then how to monitor the success of everyone in the program. So hopefully you got some value from this video, but that'll be it for today.